everyone! This is Korith Landwalker, and this afternoon we have what I hope will be an entertaining stream of Star Citizen. I am presently at Port Olisar, sitting down, soaking up some of that vitamin D, since, you don't really see a whole lot of healthy sunlight when you're spending all your time in space on space stations and spaceships and the like. But we'll take care of that quickly enough and get on to more space-suited kind of apparel. In fact, why don't I do that now, because Port Olisar doesn't have hangars, it has landing pads. And if you happen to walk out onto a landing pad without wearing a spacesuit, you're gonna die. That's a bad thing. Okay, so as you may have seen mentioned on my title for today's stream, we're going to be doing something that a large number of better Star Citizen streamers than I have been doing on any number of occasions. A phenomenon referred to as low flying. See, these streamers, they've got their dual stick setups and their Tobii eye trackers and what have you. They take their best fighter craft, take them to a moon, drop to as low an altitude as they can, as fast a speed as they can, and engage in daring aerobatics. Well, I don't have a Tobii eye tracker. Nor do I have a dual stick setup. Nor am I even that great a pilot in comparison with these streamers. Thus, we are going to be leaning into that. So instead of streaming these high-speed, high maneuverability fighters on these moons, I'm going to be low-flying starships that were never meant to be used for low flying. Yeah, that's a kind of an astonishing idea, I know. We're going to take ships that you generally don't think of as aerobatic ship, and we're going to see what happens when you try to do that on one of the moons. This should be filled with all kinds of explosions today, so if you're someone who's entertained by self-destruction, this stream is for you. So, I've taken care to make sure that any potentially relevant starship for this kind of stream be available to me here today at Olisar. Now we're going to kind of sheet it up a little bit, and we're going to start with the Mercury Star Runner. It's actually, pretty fast, decently maneuverable, aerodynamic. It might not actually be the big disaster that some of these other ships are going to be later on in the stream. On the other hand, though, maybe it will. Either way, crazy awaits. Now, the Star Runner, I will freely admit, has always been a personal favorite of mine ever since it was released. Honestly, it was pretty high on my list even on the concept phase, but it took me a while before I actually pulled the trigger. Okay, technically speaking, it was kind of enforced because it wasn't available as a full-time pledgeable. Alright, let's close up the ship. Now, a lot of these people doing the low-flying thing tend to do this on the moon of Daymar. I guess because it's got all those great canyons and formations and stuff. Which is the main reason why I came to Port Olisar to do all of this. Proximity to Crusader, and proximity, thus, to Daymar. Incidentally, for those who are wondering, this is not the PTU, this is not version 3.14, so the Star Runner still has the maneuverability that we've come to expect. I understand that it's kind of been brutalized pretty badly in 3.14, but I haven't actually tested it myself, because I don't generally do the public test universe. It is available for all backers, though, so if you have an interest in fiddling with that sort of thing, go see for yourself. If nothing else, you can visit Orison, the new landing zone of Crusader, which will be coming really soon. I mean, if they've gone to all backers on the public test universe, it can't be too far away. Although I strongly doubt it'll be this weekend, as I've read a couple people speculate. If it happens by next Friday, I will be surprised.
Quantum travel engaged.
Let me rephrase that. If it happens before next Friday, I will be surprised.
Quantum travel.
Okay, let's see. If we're really lucky, and it doesn't look like we're going to be lucky, I was kind of hoping to hit an area that was on the day side. So let's clear out my navigation and go to Kudra Ore Mine. Now, I'm not actually going to the specific location. I just want to be somewhere where there's daylight out, because doing low flying at nighttime, it feels like a phenomenally bad idea. Even for a good pilot. I mean, you got to at least be able to see what's ahead of you. Okay, let's drop ourselves to the surface, or close enough to it. I'm going to kind of get us onto a near stopped position when we're near the ground first, to give myself an idea of how low I can afford to be without turning into bits of broken, twisted metal. I need to have a pretty good idea of what altitude I can set down on. Let's drop the landing gear. Now, I'll be straight up and say that I really never do a whole lot in the way of low flying, even in fighters. I've never really done that sort of thing. Okay, so figure if I go much below 900, 900 meters, I'll probably be a greasy stain. Oh, do I want to become famous? Oh, at last, my opportunity has arrived. I never thought the day would come where someone would come along and offer to make me famous. Oh, I'm touched. I really am. Oops, that was the band button. My mistake. One of these days, I'll try to remember to hit the right button instead of the band button when I go for those things. What can I say? Okay, so 900 meters is probably the area that I want to be cautious about. I'm going to start at 900 meters, and we might fiddle around a little bit from there. How fast can we go in Mercury? Let's get that speed limiter as high up as I can. Crank that afterburner up. Hey, Cap, how are you doing this morning, this afternoon, this whatever part of the day it is in your time zone? How's life on your end of the monitor? I am doing what a lot of better streamers would call low flying, which, you know, they do their little aerobatic maneuvers. Of course, I managed to get an area that doesn't have a whole lot of canyons. However, unlike the better streamers, I am flying in ships that have absolutely no business doing low flying. Let's see. Doing fine, kids are trying to teach Minecraft. Oh! Well, they should be able to make you feel really old very quickly, I suspect. Kids always seem to be pretty good at that sort of thing. Yeah, I didn't really pick a reef that has a lot of rock formations. It's a little disappointing. Bad me. Let's drop ourselves down a little bit. Up, too low, too low. Yeah, not exactly what you would call an expert here, but we're not exactly what you would call... Oh, my landing gear's still down. How embarrassing. Let's get that back up. 875. So far, so good. Now imagine that this looks a lot better for folks who are doing fighter craft, where they can generally have a substantially faster rate of velocity this low to the ground. Although we're not doing too badly considering we're doing a little over 400 meters a second. Oops! Oh, still alive though. Didn't expect that. I really expected the crash to do me in. I think I may have damaged the wing. We'll take a look at that momentarily once we get back down to... There we go. A little lower, a little lower. Okay, let's see. Well, amazingly enough, the wing's still attached. I was kind of surprised. When I see things that are red by status on the left MFD, that usually means I broke something off. But to my substantial surprise, we have not. What I really need to do is find a place with more canyons, more heavily rocky areas. That way I could, you know, smack up against the walls and explode that way. It always amazes me when I watch some of the folks like, say, well, Dark Law, I think, is one of the guys who do a lot of low-flying stuff. And I'm impressed by his aerobatic skills by a substantial margin. Oh, these are canyons. Oh yeah, I wanna try going through these. Oh, this is gonna go so horribly. This is gonna go so horribly wrong. Oh! There we go. Casualty number 1. 10 minutes in. But do I let this discourage me? I do not. Oh, I'm so dizzy that I'm actually sleeping at an angle. And now, Flag is yanking me back into bed. Let me out! How's the MSR doing Atmo? Can't say I recall flying low in it before. Well, you know, it can move straight. Its straight line is doing pretty well. Turns at high speed, not so much, perhaps. Certainly, it doesn't have the fast reaction speed that you might want from that sort of thing. But really, why fly in an MSR when you can low fly in something even crazier? First off, though, we'll do a claim on the MSR. Might as well have that clock rolling while we go. And then we're going to try using the RSI Constellation. Because, you know, when you think of high-speed aerobatics, the one thing that comes to mind is the RSI Constellation. We're going to continue to take insanity to whole new levels. Just bring up the doors. And yes, I know I've got the Kruger Merlin on there too, which I could do the low flying in, but really, that's the kind of thing you would expect to do low flying in. This is not about doing what's expected. This is going more or less crazy. Heaven knows if I want to make this the theme of my stream, crazy is the key word of the day. Let's get everything turned on in here. And let's... Oh, come on, turn on. Here we go. And let's take a look at the ship. Clearly, we are not looking at something that is built for aerodynamic use. In fact, I'm going to shut the weapons off. Maybe that'll cut down the drag. Maybe. Oh, this is going to be such a disaster. I can't wait. I set my course back for the same location. Oh, maybe not the same location. In fact, let's just set for Daymar itself. Yeah. And worry about where to go specifically after I get there. Now, the Constellation is the kind of ship that you have to actually have your... Well, you don't really have to, but you tend to use your VTOL engines to help your vertical movement when you're in an atmosphere or anywhere with gravity. Clearly, I will not be using those. It's all about forward thrust. So, low flying part the second. RSI Constellation. Another example of starships that nobody should be crazy enough to do, except me. Now, of course, there is another good reason why you don't low fly with these kind of ships, and it's only partially to do with the fact that they're about as aerodynamic as a brick. It's also because larger ships tend to have larger claim times. If you're doing a stream that involves low flying, then you're going to want something that claims really quickly. Even if you have to expedite it quickly, at least it will be done quickly. Now, as before, we are going to try to drop down and get an idea of where the altimeter is before we start kicking off, so I know roughly, really roughly, how low I can go. Yeah, I sound like I'm doing the limbo, doesn't it? Get a little closer. We're about a kilometer above the surface, theoretically speaking. Let's level it off. A little lower. I can get pretty low in this area, apparently. I'm about 140, 130, 120, 90. Let's try to get a little bit where it's not as rocky. But I'm flying right above. Oh, too far, too far, too far. Alright, it looks like that my absolute limit here is going to be roughly 0. So, we're going to try to put it around maybe under 100. Maybe under 100. We'll see where things go as we move forward. And moving forward we are. Kick up that land. Oh, did I actually even have it down? Guess not. Here we go. Full speed ahead. Yes, yes, my engines are. So we are moving at a leisurely 400 plus meters a second. Unfortunately, the sky and the ground are close to the same color right now. Hey, why are my weapons enabled again? There we go. I wonder if that was related to the landing gear. Looks like it's also pretty windy right now. Let's drop ourselves a little lower. We're at 500, and I think we can go lower than that. Oh, here we go. Here we go. You really don't appreciate how fast these ships can move until you do the low flying thing. I mean, when you're high up, it doesn't look like you're covering a lot of territory. You're not really going that quick. But when you're closer to the ground, that's when you start realizing that 300 meters a second is pretty fast. That's right. I'm trying to do a nice 360 here, and I am painfully slow. The spin on the constellation and atmosphere is apparently not something to be admired. I mean, ouch. Takes us about maybe 30 seconds to do a full rotation. That was just horrifyingly awful. I wonder if it would do any better if I had the VTOLs activated. Let's try with the open up the VTOLs and see what happens. No, it's still not very great. So obviously the constellation will never be confused with a highly aerobatic maneuverability here. That said, now that we've gone this far, let's fly it upside down a bit. Because, you know, nothing says insanity like flying at high velocity, upside down, 300 meters above the surface. In fact, there we go. I sure hope I don't need those guns. Now this is a weird point of view, isn't it? Open sky below and moon above. I'm also climbing. Can it really be called climbing if I'm angled downward? Regardless, let's get back to some lower flying, shall we? 450. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, by the way. Now let's see what happens if I try to, oops, maybe not that way. Oops, not that way. Bouncing. Well, the good news is I haven't blown up. The bad news is I am spinning horribly out of control. And then blowing up. Hey, Fiendy, how's life treating you on your end of the monitor? Yes, we are definitely in space, and you've come in at just the right time. A lot of far better Star Citizen streamer pilots like to engage in what they call low flying. They take their fancy dual stick setups and they take their fighter craft and take them to a moon and go at high speeds, aerobatics, at very low altitudes, and generally show off. And I've decided that today I'm going to get in on some of that action, except with the absolutely wrong kind of ships to do that. Earlier, I took a Mercury Star Runner and managed to wreck that ship, so to speak. And the RSI Constellation was my second, equally recent mess. And so far, it seemed to be averaging about 10 minutes per ship so far. I am just going through them. But we're not done yet. Oh no! No, we can get crazier. First, though, I gotta do a restore on the constellation there. Large ships, like I say, take a significant amount of time to claim, so that's probably another reason why a lot of people don't do that sort of thing in the ships I'm doing now. How much is this exercise in physics destruction going to cost me? Well, the good news is, since Star Citizen is still in alpha, all ships are automatically insured, so the only thing it's going to cost me is time. So if I were to say, wreck my Crusader, Star Runner, it will cost me another 17 minutes unless I expedite it, pay money to get it claimed faster, which I'm not inclined to because we have other equally entertaining possibilities today. One of which is going to be, let's continue to be the crazy here, the Anvil Carrack. Obviously a ship known far and wide for its high-speed maneuverability. Oh, this is gonna be good. Once I locate where my landing pad is, there we go. Fly through a canyon. Well, the canyon is what got my Mercury blown up the last time around, so, the canyons are there. Now, I were one of those hotshot pilots, with the dual sticks and the eye tracking stuff and the awesome leap piloting skills. I could pull the canyons off. But since I don't qualify for any one of those statements, I will have to simply try to do something that they would never dream of doing. Here we go, a ship that is well suited for low flying activities. I'm sure that this is going to be highly aerobatic and really impressive to watch. Well, it'll be entertaining for somebody, that's for sure. Yes, it looks extremely agile. Truly, it is a graceful ballet dancer in the voids of space. Of course, we're going to a moon, which has gravity and at least something that resembles an atmosphere, even if it's not a breathable atmosphere. So, this is likely to end, well, about as well as the previous two, except it'll probably be even messier. All that said, I'm sure it can take a hit or two. The real question is, how fast can I get this moving? I mean, this thing has a lot of mass. Although not as much mass as other ships that we're going to be rolling through today. Hop on the elevator. Ordinarily, at this point, I would go to the med bay and set the ICU so that when I die, I would respawn in it. Except, come on, the ICU is not going to survive what I do to this. Medical beds. If you can make a medical bed for the ship, so it could go into the medical bed, then we'd have something. Of course, what we would have would be a horrible violation of physics. Online the system. Start spooling up the quantum drive. Oh yeah, I do seem to recall there being a little something funny going on with landing gears on the Carrack these days. But we were never going to need the landing gear for what we have in mind. Hospital beds for ships are called dry dock. I think you've got something there. I think you've got something there. However, I can pretty much guarantee you that there is no hospital bed or dry dock sophisticated enough or big enough to handle the abuse I am going to heap upon it today. Now, I'll take a quick second to remark on iconography. When you spool up your quantum drive, all your quantum drive destinations are shown up with these various symbols. You've got these hexagons, diamonds, circles linked with a circle, a couple hexagons with broken lines, bigger diamonds, and there are some others. The big diamonds tend to be orbital markers, which are very useful to get around a planet. Orbital marker 1 is North Pole, orbital marker is South Pole. The hexagonal areas are outposts. The ones with the broken hexagons, they're still outposts, but they are on the other side of the planetary mass. Since I want to be where the daylight is, those are where I want to be aiming for. We can fix it, they say as they pour the ruined, melted, burned pieces of an exploded ship into the massive repair bay. Suddenly, I'm reminded of a brief scene in John Wick Chapter 2. John's got his car back. His buddy comes over to tell him, yeah, I can fix it, even though the thing looks like it's been through World War III. In fact, I fully anticipate that it might actually be repaired, maybe, whenever they do the last John Wick movie. But that car's seen some city miles, and not in the good way. That's not a bad comparison to what we plan to do here. Once again, we are going to go straight down, because we got to get a good idea of where exactly my floor is. And we're going to cut the acceleration off now, because, well, stopping on a dime is not something that this is going to do. We are 15, 14, 1300 and closing. We are under a kilometer. Lower, lower. I can get down to at least 700. Well, of course, we do have some of those mountainous areas there, so that'll kind of make it a little more challenging. Okay, this feels like it'll be around the floor of what I want to do here. We are at 600 meters above where they consider the surface, whether it's sea level or what have you. It's kind of hard to call it a sea level when there aren't any seas involved. That's what the altimeter says, and that's what we're going with. Alright, we got what we wanted. It's time to put on some speed. How fast can we make this ship go in the lower reaches of Daymar? We are moving almost 300. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do Daymar, one of the moves, as opposed to, say, the planet of Hurston or Microtech. Because they have thicker atmospheres. And with a thicker atmosphere, it means you can't go as fast. I wanted to at least remove the speed element, the speed limiting element. It also, again, by doing the low flying thing, you get a better appreciation of just how fast you're actually moving. If you're flying at a higher altitude, you can generally not feel like you're going very quickly. But this gives you a much better idea of the fact that, yeah, you are moving. You are moving like crazy. Oh, another canyon. Can I maneuver fast enough to get into it? Oh, well, you can see I'm kind of turning my nose, but I'm still having the forward velocity. Whoa, near miss. So we are clearly not dealing with what you would call high-speed maneuvering. And looks like playing around this way isn't going to do much either. Yeah, here we go. Flying almost sideways at high speed. Oh, I just bounced off something. I think I lost a wing. Yeah, I'm maneuvering in quotation marks. Yeah, because apparently turning on a dime is not something you were going to see in a ship like this. Let's see. Whoops, just bounced off something again. Well, I seem to have bounced off something a little bit more significant there. You know, that was almost 10 minutes too. Oh, this is interesting. Am I not spawning in properly? Did I wreck it so bad that I broke the server? I bounced off your death! I can't get into third person. Did I really whack myself so hard that I've literally crashed my ability to go anywhere else in the game? I'm just kind of frozen in space. I can't activate my Moby Glass. Oh, it feels like it wants to because it's getting rid of the chat text on the game. But nevertheless, I am not appearing anywhere. Yeah, the whole server crashed and everyone blames you now. No, I think I may have wrecked the client here. In fact, I seem to have wrecked so bad that I can't even bring back the game menu. Now, traditionally, when something like this happens, there's only one thing I can do. It's time to reboot the client. Dum 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 dum. We pause for station identification. This is the Court Landwalker streaming network. We should have something coming up momentarily. There we go. I need an emote for crashing. Well, well, you know, that would require me to actually have emotes, and unfortunately, emotes are only available if you are an affiliate on Twitch. And I'm too bloody lazy to push myself to fill out the paperwork, shall we say. I've gotten all the requirements. I've gotten the official email invite saying, hey, you're qualified for being an affiliate. Here's your invitation. Fill out all your stuff. But, you know, I'm a lazy bum. Oh, that's a bad sign. Missing bad token. That is a bad sign. Nevertheless, we're going to try to visit location anyway. Because if the bad token is a bad token, I may be hosed. Yeah, this is a world of not good. And hangars you can't do anything about because you disabled those, so... This is a good example of what I would call trouble. Alright, well... let's close that down again, and while we're waiting for me to get my act together, here's a replay of one of my favorite moments in Star Citizen. Looks like I have to get on the ship first. The Cutlass Red, which is arguably the only good ship Drake has ever made back in the day when I was boarding someone else's Drake starship. And honestly, it's less because of the ship and more because of... Of course I chose that one! Yes, this is Drake manufactured, boys and girls. Let's face it, I never get tired. Ladies and gentlemen, Drake interplanetary workmanship at its finest. You can't even get on board this ship without it exploding. Yeah, we don't need to see that twice. Okay, let's try this trick then. We're gonna do a quick round of Arena Commander. Oh, I'm so tempted to do the racing again. because that was such a mess. But no, we'll take out my frustrations on assorted bad people. We'll grab my arrow here. Do I want to do? Yeah, well, I could do the Super Hornet. We'll do the Super Hornet. Super Hornet. For those unaware, the Arena Commander module kind of came before the Persistent Universe. It's basically a dogfighting module, so basically it pops. You can do this either with PvP with people or against a bunch of AI opponents, which is what we're doing here. And we're just going to basically take out my frustrations on some of them. Just long enough for hopefully the bad token to stop being a bad token. Unfortunately, it seems that all the bad guys have gone away too. Oh, there we are. Reliant Tenna. So we're going to close in and we're going to wreck his world. World officially wrecked. And another target's popped in somewhere. The Hornet is a medium fighter, so it's kind of got a mix between armament and maneuverability. And it looks like that this guy is ramming into asteroid or something, because I see his shields being damaged by somebody who is not me. And that seems to have taken care of him. Oh, yeah. Oh, someone's got me on radar lock, though, so somebody's got to be nearby. I figure if I can get through a couple waves, that'll probably be more than sufficient. Oh, how about that? Here we are. Oh!
Target destroyed.
Well, that was kind of embarrassingly simple. Now, one of the problems I have on these Arena Commander maps is that they have borders. The map is only so big, and if you go near a border, you explode. The problem is that they don't give you a whole lot of warning when you're approaching these borders. So, it usually ends up... Oh, alert! Oh, I'm dead! How do these people keep being blown up before I get a chance to get at them? Yeah, another reason why people do the multiplayer thing on here is that at least you have more people looking for targets. A little closer, he's only 4 kilometers out and closing. Incidentally, the blue on my radar indicates an NPC good guy. And apparently he's clipping asteroids himself, so clearly he's not the best pilot out there. I mean, heaven knows, I don't consider myself any sort of ace, but some of these AI pilots take the cake. Oh, I think I'm getting near a border here. Oh, I like the sound of that. Multiple hostiles inbound. Unfortunately, God forbid that any of those multiple hostiles be where I can see them.
Okay.
Oh, okay, where are you? Where are you? Oh. Oh, and we're in wave 2. Excellent. Once we get this wave out of the way, we'll see if the bad token has stopped being an issue. Once upon a time, this would be the way you could resolve it. In fact, if you were to fly a freelancer and log off in bed in Arena Commander, that would take care of the problem. But apparently they, theoretically, well, that fix was for something else. They took away that ability because they also solved another problem which involved an infinite loading screen.
Target destroyed.
Once that got fixed, they took out that ability. But it may turn out that we may regret that. Come on, bad guys, where are you? Whoa, whoa, whoa! See, there's that border, and I'm already moving way too fast. I'm approaching it way too quickly. Oh, thank God for afterburners. And you'll have the same trouble if you go too high or too low as well. So, you know, we're in a big box. You could say that I'm boxed in. That's an idea. Maybe if I try a scan pulse, maybe I'll get something.
Bogey.
Well, apparently I got something, but it's not actually showing up anywhere. Up, there we are. And since he's flying a Drake Buccaneer, I will become extremely ecstatic to do him in.
Bogey.
Yeah, don't be going out of my target lock. I never get tired of making Drake starships go kablooey. Oh! Of course, missiles are a different problem. The good news is I think I got my countermeasures out in time.
Target destroyed.
Remaining.
Did I get them all? Did I get them all?
Shields full.
Are we on wave 3?
There are multiple hostiles inbound.
Yes, we are. But we're not going to bother with those because I got what I wanted out of here. Let's see if the persistent universe will accept me again. Yes, it will, it looks like. Yes, excellent. Which means we can get back to our regularly scheduled activity. You would think that after exploding the Carrack like that, I would decide that maybe I should do something safer, like juggling live grenades or something like that. But really, when have I ever done something so obviously straightforward and safe? No, we're just going to take... No, I'm sad. I hate to tell you this, Cap, but the 890 is not on the list, and I'm going to tell you why. It cannot get any kind of speed whatsoever. I mean, with the ships I've been flying here, I can at least get 300, 400 meters a second off of. 890 ain't going to be able to pull that kind of speed. However, depending on where things stand near the end of the stream, it could, well, actually, yeah, it could still happen because I did park it at Grim Hex, so it would not be very far out of my way. So here I am, back whole and healthy. You know, I wondered, well, no, that couldn't get anything with it either. I don't know. I don't know why I ended up bugging out so hard that I couldn't do anything before. Gee, it seems awfully dark in here. Usually it's better lit inside OSR. Did they forget to pay their bills? No, our next step is taking the next step down from the 890. The 600i. The 600i is a ship by Origin Jumpworks, which is a company that prides itself on making luxurious starships. A00. Now, they've also made some pretty high-performance ships as well, as can be evidenced by the existence of the M50 racing ship. But of course, the M50 is the kind of ship you would want to do low flying, and I'm not going to do that. That would be the sane and rational choice, and this stream is not about the sane and rational choices today. So here we have another ship that is obviously designed for the kind of maneuvering and speed that I want to do. I mean, it only looks like a brick. That said, I guess the lines would help it be a little bit aerodynamic, but it sure doesn't have any wings to help. Nothing that'll help the lift or anything like that. It also occurs to me that I didn't actually do a claim on my Carrack. I'll have to remember that after I crash this. I know it sounds pessimistic, but come on now. Does anybody really believe that this can end any other way? Why is the elevator not working? Ah, there we go. I was getting ready to say, did somebody replace it with Drake parts? But then I remembered Drake actually doesn't have any parts because they generally cannibalize from everybody else. Here we go. Go into my padded origin seat with rich Corinthian leather. Okay, I actually don't have any idea what that padding is made out of, but you know, it looks comfy. So let's power everything on. Sometime this year. There we go.
Origin checkpoints at your service. Core system operational.
And start spooling up that quantum drive.
Raised.
As before, we're going to go to the moon of Daymar because A, it's a moon, which means B, it has almost no atmosphere, and C has very little gravity. The ideal location to do something like this.
Quantum drive activated.
Yeah, I'm beginning to wonder if this particular server is dying because we got someone here in the chat saying there's only 26 peeps left in here, and I have a sneaking feeling it means the rats are deserting a sinking ship. Let's hope that's not the case. Now here we are. Once we get to the lighter side, we'll have a better look at the kind of ship that we're going to be zooming through the atmosphere for. Incidentally, the 600i is a named ship, thanks to pledges and all that. And this I named the Hyperion Star, after a notable supergroup back in my City of Heroes days. So, next step, as usual, the priority is to get low enough to see how low is generally safe. And then we will follow that up by doing unsafe things. Like the Carrack, this has mass. That means that I'm going to want to be a little careful as I get closer to the ground because I am not going to be able to stop on a dime. Well, technically, I guess I can stop on a dime. It's just that it will be the wrong kind of stopping. It'll be the, oh my god, I'm going to crash kind of stopping. It looks like we should be able to get fairly low in this area. We're at 600. Let's change the angle a bit so I can get a better idea of where the ground is. Okay, that's probably low enough. Our floor is going to be, we're going to call it 625. Give myself another 15 meters. With that in mind, it's time to accelerate. High-speed insanity begins now. So far, we've cranked it up to 250 meters a second and rising. $250. You know, we may not have a whole lot. Let me hit the afterburners and see if we get ourselves to 300. We can get to 300, but apparently I'm going to have to leave the afterburners on high to stay that way. So it looks like the 280s are going to be our cruising speed for this low-flying adventure. As I make this turn, you can see that my velocity, which is handled by those brackets kind of that are dripping to the left, that indicates my velocity, direction of my velocity, which is not necessarily where my nose is pointed. So when I get those brackets right in the center of my screen, that means my velocity is lined up with the way I am pointing. Now we are still moving at a pretty good clip. I mean, again, low flying, if it does nothing else, it tells you just how fast you are actually moving. You may not think you're moving like really fast, but you really are. Now I see up ahead we've got this big honking mountain in the way. I'm debating whether I want to go over it or around it. And I think that, going over it is going to be the way to go because I'm leaving myself no time to make that decision to go around it. Still, how close can I get it? Okay, back down. Now you can help your maneuverability a little bit by hitting the afterburners. But of course, the problem with hitting the afterburners is, well, they're overheating your engines. Horrible things can happen. And while we are like 260, we are doing definitely lower than we have been. Let's talk about doing a little bit of a 360 turn and see what we can do here. As with the other large ships that we've tried this with, well, it doesn't do the flip around very easily. But hey, we're flying upside down. It's kind of like flying in a cave, except there's no bottom. Now the biggest thing that I have trouble with here is remembering that in this situation, if I'm getting too close to the ground, I don't want to pull up. I want to pull down. Because otherwise, let's just say that the ending is going to be very, very sudden and bleak. Okay, let's see if we can get ourselves turned back around. It is painfully slow. But again, it should not be that big of a surprise because we are flying a ship here that was not designed for low flying. It was designed for the opposite of slow flying. And you know what else is happening? I seem to have crossed the Terminator from day into night, which is going to make things interesting. Now, a smart pilot would say, okay, well, I'll just go high enough so I can quantum jump to the other side of the moon and have my daylight back. That would be the sane thing to do, wouldn't it? What I'm going to do, though, is I'm just going to... Oh, yeah. Turning on my headlights, that probably wasn't the best move I could make. It seems to be having a little bit of a dust storm here. And I can't apparently... Oh, what do you know? I managed to get them turned off, and then they came back on again. It's the server doing its thing. You can barely see mountainous areas, but I can still see somewhat. Getting a collision alert. That can't be a good sign. What am I approaching? Oh, there we go. That was a pretty good turn. Maybe I just need some help when I'm doing these turns. Oh yeah. Now that was a good 360. Of course, I'm also about a little over 100 meters above the ground, which means horrible things could probably happen if I'm not watching myself. It's crazy, but I think this is the longest I've managed to go so far, low flying the large ships. It figures it would be Origin. Oh, it's too far. I knew I was jinxing it the moment I said I was doing better than I had been. But in the bright side, though, it looks like it's going to spawn me in properly. Well, for a given value, it's spawning in properly. Alright, upsy daisy. So far we have managed to make marvelous hash out of every ship we've flown so far. Let's claim the Carrack. The asteroid. Let's claim the 600i. There we go. But, you know, I feel like we can still get crazier. So we're going to grab the C2 Hercules Starlifter. Another ship known for its aerodynamic design. Of course, it's also known for carrying tanks. And we're not talking oxygen tanks here, we're talking tanks. The kind of thing you take to war. Well, maybe not this variant, because this particular variant is the civilian variant, so taking it to war would probably have a horrible end. But it has a lot of cargo capacity, which is good for trading, if, you know, the trading game wasn't completely borked. It's not completely borked, but if you plan on making a profit off of it, it's effectively borked. And as you can see, it might be about as long as some ships, but it really has width. And we'll see about going into the back way, just for the giggles. Yeah, it sure looks like it wants to do the heavy stuff, doesn't it? Oh, looks like a Constellation just took off. Not to be confused with my Constellation, which is basically a mess. Let's see. Was it the other side, or maybe it's the other end? There's a fun detail on the ship here where you can actually play with the lighting here. We're kind of in dim lighting. No lighting. Bright lighting. Just a handy detail. We'll go up the ladder. Alright, heading up to the flight deck. Familiar Crusader design. Power everything on.
Crusader Industries, a journey worth taking. Systems on. Launch complete. Landing gear up.
Quantum drive doesn't seem to want to spool. Which is a bad sign. People have been saying how the server is borked, and we may be seeing another example of it right here. do have a quantum drive in here, right? I'm gonna feel really stupid if it turns out I just took off without a quantum drive attached. Nope, I've got a quantum drive. It's a good quantum drive, too. Yeah, that. Nevertheless, I do not seem to be able to activate my quantum drive. Alright, well, you know what? We're going to land this and we're going to jump to a different server. I mean, this is getting borderline masochistic. Set course for OSR because I need to. Now, wait a second. I can't be that far away from OSR. Nothing. I just took off from the place. Okay, well, you know what? I may have to do something really dangerous here. This is not something I recommend doing, especially these days, but, you know, I feel like I have no choice. I'm going to go and bedlog. A lot of ships have, well, beds, and there are areas where you can log off in, so that way when you log back in, you can log back into your ship. At least, that's what happens when it is working properly. However, sometimes it isn't working properly, and you end up in an infinite loading screen. So we're kind of rolling the dice here. I just see very few viable alternatives. Because if I don't have anywhere to land this, I don't want to put some claim and skip out the opportunity of using this. So, we have true drama about to happen. Heh, with my luck, it'll still say bad token, so let's hope not. Okay, we will pause them. And we're going to hopefully we'll end up on a server that is not the server I just left. Alright, loading, and a good way to know what's going on is to watch the console here. Because if the console doesn't do anything for an extended period of time, you're hosed. And guess what? Oh, hold on. Okay, I'm not hosed yet. I thought we might be, but we're not. Oh yeah, this is promising. This is good. Stuff's happening. Yeah! Bedlog successful. And it looks like it's a different server, which is another win. So maybe my quantum drive will start functioning again. Then again, the guy's complaining about being stuck in a door, so that's probably a bad sign. So the only question mark is, did my ship magically go somewhere else? Because sometimes, if you bedlog, you'll find yourself in the middle of the sun, or at least close enough to it.
Crusader Industries, a journey worth taking.
Yes, I am in the sun, or at least near the sun area. And I can't set a course for anything, it looks like. So let's see what we can find. HER-L4, MiC-L1. I don't want to be going in those areas. Let's continue rotating around. Crew-L5, ARC-L3, HER-L3, Crew-L1. Crew-L1's possible. Can't get a good read on it. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'm going to aim myself towards one of these other areas, and then break off the quantum drive, and then we'll see if I can get to somewhere else. In other words, I'm trying to change my angle of approach so that a lot of areas don't end up magically closed off to me.
Quantum travel complete.
Alright, let's see if we have any better luck now. Yeah, there we go. Straight shot to Crusader now. Sometimes it's good to know how these things operate,
Quantum travel
so you can
engaged.
deal with little problems that arise because of it. I am using a TS4 quantum drive, which is one of the better quantum drives for this size. So it should not take me horribly long to get there. According to this, it'll take me about 2.5 minutes. A little less than that, technically. Then it'll be a quick hop to Daymar, and we can continue our low-flying experience. Specifically, our low-flying experience on ships that were never meant to do it. If you are just stopping in, I am currently playing Star Citizen and trying to do the kind of thing that more expert pilots do in their high-speed, high-performance fighter craft, which is something they call low flying. Low altitude, high velocity. All well and good. Except I'm not using high-performance vehicles. I am using ships like this, the Hercules Starlifter. A large ship dedicated to hauling huge amounts of cargo, or, more frequently, large vehicles like tanks and anti-aircraft platforms. In other words, this is not a ship that is designed for high performance, high speed, high maneuverability. But, you know, I never claimed to be what you would call an expert pilot, so really the kind of destruction you're seeing with these vessels, these are the kind of things that would also likely happen if I were to try to use those aforementioned high performance, high maneuverability, high speed fighters. At least this way, we get some entertainment value before I blow. We are approaching Crusader. We should be out of quantum momentarily. Then we will readjust and head towards Daymar. Now the day is coming soon where we will actually be able to go into the atmosphere of Crusader, where we will be able to go to the landing zone of Orison. There you are, Daymar. Their city in the clouds. We could see it inside of a couple weeks, maybe sooner, depending on, you know, how tolerant CIG is of releasing a game-breaking package. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Quantum travel complete.
Okay, once again, preference is the light side, not the dark side. Even if we don't know the power of the dark side, we want to be on the light side. I think that this ought to get me there, but I'm not 100%.
Travel engaged.
And here we are. It took us a lot longer to get here than we should have had to take, but you know, when servers are going cranky. Now we do have a pretty good spin rate here. That will undoubtedly be nerfed at some point. Crusader has developed some relatively agile ships for the size of ships they've manufactured. Now, I understand that the Mercury is getting massively nerfed as far as maneuverability goes in the public test universe right now. Whether or not it stays that way is, well, an open question. As an alpha, things can always change. Sometimes without warning. Sometimes with warning. We have a fair amount of maneuverability here on the Hercules here. So I am expecting some interesting maneuvering to be happening anytime now. But first, let us determine where our floor is. Our floor apparently is going to be... Let's get an angle change here so I can get a better idea of... Okay, that was too much. Okay, our floor seems to be around the 250-ish area. We don't want to dip below 250 if we can avoid it very much. With that in mind, it's time to pour on the speed. Oh, is that a canyon? I don't have the maneuverability to turn myself into that canyon without, you know, pasting into a wreck right away. Now, the visibility in the Starlifter has been compared with that of the Freelancer, which is to say, it's a narrow slit. Seeing past it is challenging. That's the nice way to put it. That was a hell of a spin speed, though. I mean, wow. Constellation didn't spin so well. Carrick didn't spin so well. 600i didn't spin so well. But I mean, take a look at this. Whoops. Okay, maybe not look at that part. Oh, I think I'm going to black out. That's going to be ironic. The best performing large ship I've gone in so far, and I'll probably wreck because I black out. Oh, no. I'm not seeing red anymore. Wow. How's my ship look after all that? Ooh, I think I lost the top turret. I seem to have scuffed up a little bit on the port side there. Oh, hold on. I'm busy looking at all this stuff, and meantime, I'm not paying attention to the fact that, oh, gee, maybe I should level out so I don't wreck into the planet while I'm checking all this stuff. Yeah, that's one way to get out into space. Yeah, spinning out of control. Basically, I was doing an imitation of Darth Vader just after he got whacked by the TIE Fighter in Star Wars. Let's see, the bottom turret's still around. You know, I'm not entirely sure that is a turret. Well, maybe it is. We are doing a pretty good 388 meters a second. And for a ship this large, that's absolutely pretty impressive. Whoops. Well, you know, we're going to have to give the folks at Crusader credit here because they at least have built a ship that can take this abuse. I've whacked the ground twice now, and I'm still flying. Crusader Industries, give yourselves a pat on the back. Okay, looks like the port side's taking a little bit more of a hit there. It's just a scratch. It is a sturdy ship, isn't it? I mean, I've put this thing through crazy abuse so far, and we're still flying. I mean, the Carrick exploded, the 600i exploded. I always knew the Constellation would explode. But Starlifter, it just keeps on going and going. It's like the freaking Energizer Bunny of starships right now. Oh yeah. Having a little bit of trouble with control right now, probably because I'm missing a good chunk of my port wing. Just a scratch. Okay, you silly bastard, you've got no arms left. Give it time. I might be able to take out my starboard side somewhere along the line too. Well, that was certainly a big follow through. I was kind of expecting to stop a little sooner on that spin than I did. Wonder if you can see out into space from inside your ship anywhere. It depends a lot on the ship, actually. The Star Lifter doesn't have any extra windows aside from the ones up front. I don't think it has a manned turret. Well, it might have a manned turret that you could look out of. The Carrack has a couple windows. The Star Runner does not. The 890 does. You can certainly do it in the 600i. Oh, you mean from the damage? Not at this point, not yet. Physicalized damage is planned to be more of a thing. But a lot of what you're seeing is basically component kind of stuff. Whoops, a little too low there. Three big hits and we're still going. A lot of the things that tend to be blown off tend to be component areas. Non-habitable. We really haven't seen a whole lot in the way of hull breaches that would be suck into space kind of hull breaches. I would like to see that, though. I really would. And I suspect that maybe that will be a thing that could happen when you start getting those really big ships like the Javelins and the Idris and the like, which are not presently in the game as flyable, but they have shown up as opponents. Let's see, how are we looking right now? The starboard side still looks pretty good for all the abuse it's taken. It's the port side that's been really, really beaten on. And I think we're heading to the dark side, so to speak. Or at least we're getting closer. I don't seem to have a whole lot of... Oh, yeah, it's getting dark, alright. You know what that means. Once we start flying the dark side, our odds of ending up completely destroyed go way up. But why would I let a little thing like that stop me? Oh, I'm not going to be able to make that turn, am I? Height, height, height. I was hoping to try to make the turn into there, around that mountain, but sometimes you can't pull off what you would like to pull off. Major torque imbalance. I wonder why. It couldn't have anything to do with the fact that I'm missing roughly half my wing on the left side. Oops. Too high, too high, too high. Oh, there we go. 70 meters above the ground and still moving. Let's get the lights on. Oh, it's not as bad here. So now I'll have maybe a half-second warning before something horrible happens. Okay, that turn didn't go the way it worked. I was hoping to get more of a spin there, but... Ah, the sun is this way. Maybe we can catch back up with it. Follow the light! Follow the light! You know, for as much time as I've had the front of my ship whacking into the ground, it's actually in pretty good shape. Okay, I was hoping to get a little bit better on the afterburner there, but it looks like 400-ish is going to be maximum we can expect as far as velocity goes. Alright, now this is low flying. So I was barely skimming over here. If I'm not careful, I'm going to take out the lower turret too. And because I can't help it, another spin. You know, I'm probably tempting fate by saying this again. This is the best of the low-flying heavies that we've done today. I mean, I haven't exactly been keeping a timer up on it or anything, but we've whacked the ground a few times and we're still intact. That's gotta count for something. And look, it's the sun! I've caught up! Which kind of tells you something about the rotation of this moon. Top Gun, I ain't. But we've been doing pretty good. Okay, we have some canyons and rocks here. There's no way I've got the maneuverability to go into a canyon. Not at this speed, and certainly not with the maneuverability loss I've gotten. It looks like we come up with level ground again, or close to it. I concede that level is kind of a relative term here in game on. Oops. Maybe a little too close. Oh, too low. Well, all good things must end. And apparently, that includes C2 Hercules. Well, that was a nice bit of flying there, honestly. I was rather happy about it. Well, up until that last moment where, you know, we happened to be a little too close to the ground, and the ground decided to say, don't do that. Okay, now that I've gotten my bearings back. Down into the habitation unit. And we'll do a claim on the Starlifter. But we are not done with the fun yet. No. Now, I can still get even more extreme. Such as the Anvil Hammerhead, a Corvette-class ship. If you thought the other ships I flew were unsuited to this kind of thing, you've seen nothing yet. No, we're just getting started. Because we are all about the insanity today, and we are going to get as insane as humanly possible. You should have guessed by the fact that we're the landing pad 00 that we are not dealing with a small ship. Aegis Hammerhead, classified as a corvette, primarily an anti-fighter platform, meaning it's got heaps and heaps of turrets where it can rain hell on any small fighters that happen to be around it, in theory. In practice, sometimes not so much. People have taken out hammerheads and light fighters. That may be changing with the stuff they're doing in the new patch. We'll see. In any event, it is one of the scariest starships to run into in the persistent universe at this time. Excellent. I haven't flown this ship very much or very often, so sometimes I've got to really think my way through to find pilot seats. And here we are. All powered on. And take a better look at the ship from above. Just take a look. We've got, just visible here, 5 turrets. And guess what? Go back here, number 6. And each of these turrets have 4 guns. Not including the assortment of missiles. This ship is scary. So obviously what I'm going to do with it is do some low flying. Because I'm all about the crazy. Oh, I think that's Daymar. There we are.
Thank you. And please visit again.
Once again, the goal is to do low flying in starships that were never intended for this kind of abuse. The good Star Citizen Screamer pilots, they know better. They know better than to do something this crazy. But me, I'm just crazy, so here we go. If you're here to see feats of daring do, high performance, high skill, if you're here for that, you are in the wrong stream. But if you're here to see lots of broken bits of metal and occasional chunks of organic remains across the surface of Daymar, I am here for you. Okay, we're about 5 kilometers up, so it shouldn't take us long to get to the ground. And we can determine where our floor is. And once we determine our flight floor, so to speak, and again, that flight floor is kind of a moving target. We've seen the floor higher and lower based on the elevation of the land around us. If I need a starting point, I mean, for no other reason, then I'd prefer not to explode within the first 10 seconds. We are 2 kilometers. One and a half. And I am leveling off. Trying to get it at just the right angle of approach. And I think I'm failing. Let's kill the horizontal movement for now while I get to work on researching where the floor is. Okay, this feels like it's when I can see the dust being kicked off by my ship, that tells me I'm probably close enough to the ground. 482, so we're going to say 500 is going to be my floor on the average. Whether or not that's considered accurate, who knows? So, now that we've done that, it's time to crank the velocity limiter up like crazy, hit the acceleration, kick on those afterburners, and let's do some low flying in a hammerhead. Now, the good news about the hammerhead is that the cockpit is actually closer to the ground. It's not like most fighters where the cockpit is at the top of the ship or anything like that. That means when I hit the ground, it'll be going through me personally for the rest of my ship. You know, that doesn't really sound like such a great thing now that I think about it. But here we are, moving this hammerhead. Pretty solid clip. Let's see how well we do with, well, maybe not right away. Let's try to see about getting a little lower here. I can always rely on my afterburners to help me. Alright, now that I'm, painfully close to the ground, let's start the spin, shall we? It is actually doing a pretty good job, actually. I had a lot more trouble in the Constellation than the Hammerhead. And the Hammerhead's a bigger, more lumbering sort of ship. I'm rather surprised. Maneuverability needs work. And I really can't get too much faster than 300-ish on a straight line. It's a big ship. It's a big, massive ship. High maneuverability is just not something you see from here. But it is doing a little bit better than I expected it would. Oops, oops, oops. Yeah, pulled it out. Let's see, did I take any damage on the front end on that? No, we still look brand new. I'm not entirely sure what kind of damage states would happen with the Hammerhead. I mean, you can't break off. You're not at the point yet where you'll break in half. Count the blessings. Oh yeah, here we go. Definitely having ourselves some fun here. Or can I get lower? Yeah, when I get to the point where I can see the details on the rocks I'm flying over, that's probably a sign that I'm probably a little bit too low. One of the ships I really should have tried, maybe I'll do that later. I would like to do this kind of thing with the Vanguard, because the Vanguard is labeled as a drop ship, and I would think that this kind of low flying would be really appropriate for that style of ship. Of course, as I say it, that automatically disqualifies it because I'm not doing anything appropriate. I'm not flying appropriate ships today. What kind of crazy talk is that? Oh yeah. And meanwhile, the proximity warning is just lit up in my call-out display, and it just won't go away. The computer is thinking, "You fool! It's not just." Oh my God! I'm blowing up so I can see the shadow of the ship. Oh, that's scary. When you're flying low enough to see your own shadow, yeah, that's probably a sign that you might need to pull up a little bit. I am flying 90 meters above the surface. So naturally, we're going to put it into a spin. Oh, this is going to go horrible. This is a horrible idea. And here we got some inverted flying going here. Although I seem to be angled back to the sky a bit. Don't want that. Where's the ground? down. Flying at 90, 100 meters above the ground. Still inverted. If I had any crew on here, they'd be thinking, what the hell is that pilot doing? Pilot ain't done yet. We really can't seem to be doing too much better than 300 meters a second here. It is a big ship, lumbering, hulking even. High-speed maneuvers, not what it's about. Up, up, up. Still higher. There we go. Definitely feel somewhat crazy for doing something like this. Especially when you have all these mountainous areas that are going to cause me a major problem. Like now. I think I just lost a turret. How bad is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think all my turrets are still here. I really expected one of them to be, missing. Maybe I've just broke something delicate. And that certainly climbed us up a substantial amount. Yeah, you know what? This is not good. I think I may have misjudged my angle of approach just a little bit. Whoa! That was a... Oh, what was that? I think that was one of the turret guns. Oh, and there's there's both halves of my ship. Oh! Okay, that's not good. That's not good. In fact, I seem to have basically had a client crash here, which means... And I'm hoping that it hasn't wiped out my stream. It wouldn't be the first time that's happened. Oh, good. Stream's still running. That's good. Doom indeed. So, note to self, crashing a hammerhead might have unwelcome effects on your game client. Doing a quick verify here. Make sure that I haven't gotten any corrupted files or something like that. Too much crash, much broken. Oops. Oops, indeed. Okay, client is restarting. Hopefully I won't have a bad token, which I'm kind of suspecting is going to be the next step here. Knock on wood. Loading, loading. That's good. Persistent universe. That's good. Stanton. That's good. Awesome. We'll go back to doing best. And I think that perhaps, just perhaps, we will fulfill Cap's wish next. But I need to do a quick station relocation before I do that. There may be other unexpected side effects to deal with. Let's make sure everything's loading properly. Good, good. The game console is a handy tool sometimes. I mean, it's all gibberish to me, but the fact that it does stuff is enough to tell me that it's not hung or anything like that. Loading, loading, and Fort Olisar. Feels like I was just here. Oh, that's because I was just here. So let us hop down back to the port. And I'm going to need to take a, hopefully a quick ship. Da, 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 da. Take the M50 over to Grim Hex. There is no fear that I'll be low flying with the M50. That would be far too appropriate. I would never do a thing like that. But the M50 does have an advantage of being a pretty quick ship, although now that I think about it, that doesn't necessarily mean its quantum drive is quick. Well, it's not the first time I've misjudged. But since I'm kind of going into an area that could be considered highly dangerous, because Grim Hex is the hive of scum and villainy in Star Citizen, at least in the Stanton system. Power on. Set course to the moon of Yella, to the station of Grim Hex. And it's not going to let me do that, is it? Okay, let's get the Yella. It's not going to let me get the Yella either. Come on! Jeez Louise. Sometimes you just can't get up. Oh, gee, this says it. This is getting me there. Nap. Stupid nap. On the bright side, I should have a lot easier time target. Oh, gee, now it shows yellow. Why was it giving me trouble? Oh, of course I know why it was giving me trouble. The computer hates me. That's not unusual, because the computer hates everybody. Yeah, I was talking about the iconography earlier. If you see more of a kind of pentagonish kind of thing, that's a space station. Actually, less a space station and more a landing zone. Space stations are different. Space stations are kind of square. Okay, off to the Grim of the Hex. And let's have our communications open, because I'm going to need to call for a landing base soon. As you can see, I'm moving at a leisurely 900 plus meters a second, which is far too fast. On the other hand, the M50 can stop on a dime. Well, maybe not stop on a dime, but I can reverse my field very quickly. Call for the landing. And I may have gone a little too far away from the landing docks. And And there is. The door is still opening, and I'm practically right here. Drop the landing gear down.
Landing gear deployed.
And drop down.
Landing complete. Engine core system deactivated.
Okay, we're going to take a quick hop to the ASOP terminals here. Oh, and we have this poor guy locked in his... Oh, well, he was locked in an infinite loop, but looks like my presence here has decided that he needs his gun out to shoot me. Oh, there he goes. There he goes in his walking way. No longer trapped in that weird time. Let's all go to the lobby. Oh, I shouldn't do any songs. Don't want the DMCA people that go after me. Alright. Because you demanded it. We are going to go not just to insanity, but through the other side. I can guarantee you, virtually nobody has done a low-flying video like this. Hangar 13. I'm going to try to not take that as a bad omen. Alright, boys and girls. We were talking about big ships before. Now we're going to take it right to the next level. I give you the 890 jump. One of the top 2 largest vessels in the game. And believe me, if I had a reclaimer, that would have been my best choice for this grand finale, because doing low flying in a reclaimer, I think, would be all kinds of hilarious. I'm not giving up on the possibility of doing that someday, but I need to earn a lot more credits to be able to pick that up. So we are going to do low flying on a super yacht. Because there is no such thing as too crazy as far as I'm concerned. We'll just head upstairs. All the way up front. And we're going to definitely want to power this thing on for the shields before I go too far, because we do have people here, Grimhex, and, you know, being a hive of scum and villainy, you can't necessarily trust them to not try to hose you.
Origin jump at your service. Core system operational.
On the other hand, our shields seem to be in better shape than I thought. That's something I've noticed a lot lately. Usually, sometimes when you park your ship, sometimes the power stays on, and the power persists, so you still have decent shields and the like. Since I'm flying a really big ship, the shielding is also pretty damn good. Let's start spooling up the quantum drive, because the quantum drive takes forever. And I'm already being targeted, judging from the noises I'm hearing. But I'm pretty sure that I have enough shielding to allow me to survive a sneak attack. And if I'm wrong, well, that'll also be spectacular.
Launch complete.
Launch complete indeed. Now, with luck, the quantum drive will mostly spool where I hit spool. So all I gotta do is align. Kind of.
Thank you, and please visit again.
Still obstructed. Good heavens, what am I in front of? There we are. Jump. There we go. And nobody opened fire on me. It was very, very surprising. Now, the problem with flying a really big ship
Raised.
is that it requires a really big quantum drive. And the quantum drive takes a long time for it to spool up. And it's still spooling. And still spooling. And still spooling. There we go. And I'm going to have to brake and realign anyway because it never works the first time. Unlike most vessels, you're more or less stuck with most of the stock equipment on the 890. That may change someday, but it ain't happened yet. Alright, going for the light side if we're lucky. And we are lucky.
Quantum drive deactivated.
Alright, next up, get closer to the ground. Now, I said at the top of all this that I was going to be flying a bunch of ships that had no right to be doing low flying. And this is the one that is the second least suitable. I mean, at least this ship is semi-aerodynamic. But there is one other vessel that is even less suited to this one than this one. And that would be the Reclaimer, which I don't have access to, so I really can't demonstrate that one. Maybe someday, but if you ever get a chance to see that ship, you will understand why I consider that one the least suited ship for low flying. Speaking of ill suitability, let's kill the cruise control there and start tilting myself upward and try to figure out where our floor is. Because I want to make sure that I don't explode instantly. Lower. Lower. Alright. Our floor here seems to be about 600 meters. Ballpark. Okay, let's crank that velocity indicator up and see how fast we can go on this. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take insanity to a new level here. We've broken the 100 meters a second area, which is kind of surprises me all by itself. 200. Going to 250. Thank you, Cap. "300 meters a second. We are doing a terrifyingly fast velocity for a ship this size. And I'm almost 300 meters above. I better get myself angled a little bit better. If this thing had passengers right now, there would be screams of fright and horror. Not to mention the shouting indignation of, "Do you know who we are? How could you be doing this to us?" 180, 160, under 150 meters above the ground. This is insane. Which kind of, explains a lot about me, really. I can get lower. Oops. Have I ever tried to set the 890 down on a lake in Hurston? No, I haven't. I don't think ships are buoyant yet. I think that's something they're working on, though. Oh, I seem to have bounced. According to my indicator there, I seem to have taken some damage. Let's see if I actually have. No, looks like ship damage is still kind of mythological here. I see not even a scratch. What's that? Oh, those might be rocks. I don't know what I'm seeing. Yeah, those are rocks. Okay, we're gonna go back to leveling out. $150, 139, we got a collision alert. So we're about 150 meters above the surface, moving at 300 plus meters a second. 300 meters a second. That's terrifyingly fast for a ship that's probably about as long as 350 meters. I can't recall the exact length of the 890s. So, here we are. Whoops! Looks like I bounced off something on the bottom there. Let's right ourselves up. There we go. We're almost right, and then I can get the ship nose down. Point ourselves back to the ground because the whole point is low flying, not high flying. Now there's something else that's important to understand about the 890 as well, and it's called fuel consumption. You will see that already I'm down to 61% of my fuel. I have not done a whole lot of flying here, and I'm burning through my fuel like candy. That's a hazard for flying a ship like this. Now supposedly it's got fuel scoops and all that, and I'm sure that they would be working ordinarily if I weren't, say, cranking out my throttle as far as I could. Hey, nobody said it was going to be simple. Okay, now that I'm kind of low to the ground, yes, right, I'm trying to do a spin on it. Unfortunately, it seems that spinning in the 890 is just as excruciating as I've seen it on some other smaller ships. The Hercules made this look easy. We are inverted. Otherwise known as, how can you freak out the passengers? Apparently the answer is absurdly easily. Any passengers on board the 890 now? Ooh, cool. It's amazing how you can see the shadow when you're doing this sort of thing. Of course, that has certain problems associated with it as well. Okay, let's revert, shall we say. And we're back right side up. And meanwhile, the folks who are currently partying away in the dining bar area are probably going, "Oh God, when will this end? When will this end? Why are we hostages to this crazy pilot?" Well, you know, life is filled with little surprises, right? Oh, I just bounced off something again. But not as badly as I did before. Getting serious torque imbalances now. Let's see. Can I view any damage yet? No. We seem to be remarkably undamaged. It must all be interior. Closing in on 350 meters a second. Altitude of slightly over 500 meters.
Hydrogen fuel, 50%.
Burning through my engine fuel like there's no tomorrow. Yeah, I've said it before, but it still matters. You never truly understand how fast you're moving until you have something as a point of reference. In this case, the ground. I mean, that was an awful lot of space to be traveling across in a ship this large. Now, obviously, the maneuvering on here is garbage. In fact, I think I'm going to have something horrible happen momentarily. Well, that wasn't actually as horrible as I thought it would be. $8.90. Takes a licking, keeps on ticking. Yes, I know. I am aware I'm going closer to the ground. I'm just kind of planning on leveling it off. Trying to level it off. Anytime now. There we go. Oops. Another bounce. But not a major bounce. I think I might need to have a new paint job after all this is done. HQ group. The UE's changed into hello HQ group. UE's changed into PTU. Yeah, I've seen that. It's going to be interesting to see how that applies on a bunch of ships. This is still live. Oh, well, ooh, there we go. And there we go. Bits and pieces littering the landscape of Daymar. And I think we have pretty much done it here. We have managed to crash all kinds of inappropriate ships low-flying on Daymar today. Starting from the MSR, off to the Constellation Andromeda, the Carrack, the 600i, Hammerhead, and at the last, an 890. Because I'm crazy. And I think that'll just about do it for today's stream. I hope everyone's enjoyed the show. It was certainly different than the kind of thing I usually like to do. And certainly more unusual. I'll be streaming again Star Citizen next Saturday at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern to approximately 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern. I also do Star Trek Online streams at Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern to approximately 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Thank you, Fiendy. I'm always trying to do that high quality for everybody. At least I like to think it was. Well, okay, it was kind of there was a quality to it. Thank you for watching, whether you are watching it live or on the video on demand, either here or on YouTube. Hope to see you all again. Yeah, watch me crash ships into a planet for 2 hours. It's a dirty job, but somebody had to do it. Might as well be me. Thank you all very much. This is Korath Landwalker, signing off.